Hello, welcome to Relatable Stories. I'm Angeline Gahaza, your host, and today I'm going to be telling you about the story that got us here. I'm very excited and nervous at the same time. For those joining us for the first time, Relatable Stories was created to raise awareness on the issues that affect women, demystifying the taboo topics so that we can help each other cultivate self love. I feel that the sharing of relatable stories helps us raise awareness, and awareness is the first step to transformation. And a transformation is good, and because we need it to become the best version for ourselves. If we don't know what we are not aware of, we are not able to actually change. So, yesterday we launched our YouTube channel, Relatable Stories. Please go and subscribe. I'm excited about it because I'm taking back the day. I know some of you might have read already. The 1st of May was the day that I got married, but it was also the day that I started my blog on a search for purpose. And so I feel that it was fitting, or I thought that it was fitting to start this channel and to talk to everyone globally about the purpose that I found, which is sharing my story and how we all got here. So I'm going to invite my friend Suzio, who's going to help me unpack and talk to you about this emotional abuse journey of mine. Feel free to comment. It is a discussion, and I'm ready for us to demystify emotional abuse and help our sisters or enlighten our sisters that don't know much about it. Suzio, how are you?
Hey girl, I'm good. How are you? Excited for you?
Welcome to Relatable Stories. We've been trying
Thank
to
you
get
for
you here
having
for days.
me. Yeah, and thank you, Angeline Shame. Thank you so much for trusting me with your platform because you're on the other side of the table today.
Right,
We
right.
get to we get to hear your story and we get to hear your journey. And so thank you so much for allowing me to facilitate this particularly interesting, powerful conversation. So yeah, let's just jump
Yeah,
into it right now.
let's
First
do
of all, I
it.
wanted to just say, so I loved when I was looking at the poster, first of all, before we
Right,
get into
right,
anything else. I looked at this poster and you were very clear in the topic,
right.
emotional abuse. And I really want to know, well, I do know, but I want you to tell us, for everybody that's joining in, why did you feel it was so important to literally make it very clear what it is that we were talking about? Because you could have just said abuse,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
you
yeah.
chose that particular, title. So perhaps you can tell us why.
Why is because that is the abuse that I have experienced. And
Mm,
also why that is the story that I felt I needed to talk to everyone about. Because when I experienced it, I didn't know that it was that intense. I had heard about emotional abuse, but without the experience, I actually feel like I didn't know anything.
mm,
So I needed for people to understand or want or be interested in wanting to understand more about emotional
mm.
abuse because that is the awareness that I'm trying to raise by even being
Yeah,
here today. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's so important. I think there's a lot of people that are unaware, that this is even happening. They feel that certain behavior is the norm,
Yeah.
and I think that's why what you're going to share is so poignant, so important. And I just want to say to everybody that's listening, guys, you may actually come to a place where you're like, but wait a minute, that's what I am going through. And I think the most important thing to note is there's no shame because if you don't know, you don't know, and that's the whole purpose and the reason why we're having these type of conversations so you can be able to see and to maneuver yourself. So, Angeline, let's just start where I would love to call the honeymoon because you met this
Yeah.
gentleman at the
Is that
beginning.
where he
It's
was
all good.
starting?
Woo! We meet this
Oh my
gentleman,
God, guys,
and
this is the Queen of Courageous Conversations. I just want to say this. Like, so I know it's going to be a lot of probing, and yeah, you guys feel free to ask questions, but I already feel it's hot in here.
yeah, girl.
But
Because
yeah, okay.
we want the whole journey, because
Okay.
there's different bits, and we want to take everybody on that journey. So there was the honeymoon period. So tell us, you met this gentleman in this honeymoon period. What was going on? What were you feeling?
Okay. So, to be honest, if I'm telling the story, I am also biased in that I know the end. So I'm
Mm.
telling the story from from a person who's seeing the whole story now.
Yeah.
Because I cannot actually remember how I did it, but I know I was very much in love. I was coming from a relationship where validation was lacking. When I say
Right.
validation, I mean I didn't feel seen. Like the things that I like doing, like I'm a blogger. My ex
Mm.
didn't even read my blog. He didn't really he wasn't paying attention to the little things about me. So for me, validation has always been a thing. I like people who notice what I'm good at or what I love. And that's why,
Mm.
because I'm an oversharer, and I feel like I do
Right.
that because I want people to recognize what I like so that they can pick it up. And so with this gentleman, that was like apparent because for a long time before we started dating, I was
Hmm.
a friend, and so he was able to actually get to know me, and he was doing all the right things. So I was
Yeah.
very very much in love with the validation, and so that became my definition of ultimately what love is. And
Right.
so in the honeymoon phase, I was on top of the world. I do not want to lie. I was living my best life. Like everyone that I told about my new man, they'll tell you, I was like, this is the one. Even he
Hmm.
was saying, I'm the one then. Like I was like, we're getting married. So yeah, that's how it felt like. It was unbelievable. It was too good to be true. So
Hmm. Girl, there's no such thing as too good to be chewed. You know what I mean? Ooh, that's a whole
well,
different conversation. You are living your best life. And I think I love that's what you're saying. You were living your best life. And of course, like you've said, you are speaking from a space of you've seen the end from the beginning. And
right.
so you're even able to articulate very clearly, that validation was the draw card for you, that being able to
Yeah.
be seen and recognized, that kind of spoke to what your individual love language was. So of course that's going to be high, on
Yeah.
the radar. And
Yeah.
any other things, you're like, oh, love will conquer all, I guess.
Exactly. No, you're actually absolutely right. Because as I looked back, there were red
Yeah.
flags also from day one. But in that
Right.
moment, everything was just like, it's there, but is that? So I'm getting
Yeah.
all this. So I'm not gonna even
Mhm.
bother myself worrying about this. Yes, I'll say it,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
not a deal breaker because I've got this one thing that I've been searching for all my life,
Yeah.
and now I
Yeah.
finally found it. So yeah,
Yeah. I love what you're saying with that. It wasn't a deal breaker,
right.
because I think a lot of people sometimes don't know what their deal breakers are, or aren't paying close attention. So perhaps, Angeline, if you could just tell us what were, of course, because you've got hindsight, what were those red flags that were coming through to you?
The very first one was I needed to get rid of some people in my life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for me, that didn't sit well with me. Even though,
Mm.
like, there's dynamics where you understand there's relationships that can affect a relationship. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like maybe the approach in how it happened was a red
Mm.
flag because
Mm.
I was willing because I found the one. I was willing
Yeah.
to do it, but I was not willing to do it not on my terms, if you get what I mean. I was
Yeah.
going to, if I had to get rid of you, Suzio, as my friend who has been with me for years, I would
Mm-hmm.
do it gently because
Mm-hmm.
I knew you hadn't done anything to me, but I'm
Yeah.
choosing to distance myself. But it was almost like you have to do it now, and these are the terms. And so
Mm-hmm.
that struggle made me feel very uncomfortable. And I remember that even all the fights that I ever had, that was
Mm-hmm.
the biggest one because I actually still believed I could win. and
Mm.
I think that that was the major one, which is now there is sort of like limitation in who you can interact with. So
Mm-hmm.
it is like for me now establishing control.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay. So there was, okay. So, because I mean, look, like to your point, like you've said, when you do come into a union, you will have that conversation with your partner about maybe there are relationships that are really not serving, the
right,
both of you for whatever reason, but it
right,
is a conversation. It's not a bullying kind of a situation or a
right.
manipulative kind of situation. Okay. So that to you at that stage was, I'm uncomfortable, but it's not a deal breaker. So let's fast forward. We've now got the engagement, and ooh, life is just amazing. Now
Life
we're
was
married.
amazing.
You're living your best life.
Yeah.
When did the honeymoon start to kind of shift in a way that you were like, something is really off here? At what point now? What was happening?
So what is interesting, Suzu, is that nothing changed.
Right.
My honeymoon was still there, but the red
Mm-hmm.
flags were also still there. What
Right.
actually changed was my awareness to the red flags, not
Right.
that they were never there to begin with. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was still getting what I was getting in terms of honeymoon, but I was also now feeling, strongly feeling the red flags affecting me as a person. So
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that is that before even the engagement and all of that,
Mm-hmm.
I had or I had gone into a position where I thought I wanted out,
Yeah.
and because those red flags were really 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 hurting me. But there was also what I have now discovered to be what's called love bombing that was
Right.
present at the same time. So that would remind me of the reason why I'd chosen to be in the relationship in the first place. So
Mm.
I stayed. So it didn't, there was no shift in terms of
Yeah.
honeymoon. I feel I would have my honeymoon and then have my worst day in one day. So it was just like
Mm.
Cape Town weather.
Yeah.
If I'm happy, I would be extremely happy. If I'm not, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pull at you because I want you to articulate certain things, because I think so. I want us to be able to allow the person that's listening to you to be able
Right.
to see themselves in these so-called, red flags. So could you perhaps give us some scenarios, some things that were said, some things that were potentially done that can help us tangibly understand what that looked like? Because remember, we all have our bias. So emotional abuse, I'm like, yeah, what does that really look like? So, yeah, so I didn't like your friend, so what? Like, okay, fine, maybe he was strong about it, but maybe he could have been gentler. That's not a deal breaker. So like
Right.
you've said, because you've come into your awareness that something is not right here, can you
Right.
please, kind of articulate for us what were those things said that just were now like, no,
That one
it's
is
a
a hard
problem?
one, Susie. That one's a
Yeah.
hard one because what usually happens is after an exchange of words, you
Yeah.
know how you feel. You just don't
Mm.
you can't remember all the words that were said to even
Yeah.
say them out loud to you,
Yeah.
but you know
Right.
how you feel. So it is I can't actually give you examples right now, but all I know is it was things that were hurtful to me that were said about my
Mm.
circle, my friends, anybody, anything that could, if you can think of anything that could hurt a person about their personal
Mm.
lives or their people,
Mm.
it's said. It is said in the context of we are fighting. Okay, fine. I think something like, for example, you're
Yeah.
always going to be like you're always like this, and what I feel hurt was that I didn't understand the expectation, even as I was trying strongly
Mm.
to understand and change for my person. I never
Mm.
really got to understand what the expectation was because as
Mm.
I kept hearing, "You're like this. This is how you are." I didn't know how to change it because the
Right.
expectation was never articulated in a way that I could take it. And then
Mm.
another thing, so it will be verbal. So now just to put a rep on it, it's it's verbal where whatever
Mm.
is being said is out of context of the fight. It's about
Mm.
personally attacking you. And then
Mm.
you're left with these feelings, but you can't then particularly say, this is what
Mm.
hurts. You just
Yeah.
left with this feeling of pain inside of you. I don't
Mm.
know if I managed to even say it right. I'm still also learning how
Yeah.
to articulate it. But yeah, it's never really words that you can tell
Mm.
Susie and like, Susie, this is just what
Yeah.
happened, and Susie will understand, which is why I've always been in a place where I thought it was my imagination.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you're doing well, Angeli. So you're doing well so far. And,
Okay,
just in
okay.
the context of just emotional abuse. And guys, listen to everybody who's watching this. I know some of you have had this situation, you've gone through this. Drop us your comments in the comment section as well, because, we want to hear from you. But just kind of holistically, and some of the things that I've seen and I've even heard from, other colleagues. So definitely like what you're saying, excluding you, very controlling behavior, excluding you from the people that you love. I even had one of my really good friends that I went to school with. Her husband, anybody would be, her husband gave her the black card. So to anybody, it's like living your best life. But it was a control mechanism because he wanted to see every single place she was at. Is
I
that
also
pinging
got
something
I
for you?
also got I also got the cards very early in the relationship. I got the
Right.
card, and for me that
Yeah.
was a sign of um I've got my person's heart. But I
Yeah.
never thought of it that way, and I just wanted to
Yeah.
just double click on control. What you think is control is don't talk to your friends, never see your friends. It's not
Mm.
supposed, sometimes it's not that way. It's just
Yeah.
what the person says about your friend. So
Mm.
remember, you can tell a person not to like someone by what you tell them about them. So if
Mm.
a person constantly tells me or shows me what's wrong about Suzio, you're
Mm.
trying to poison
Yeah.
my view of Suzio. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not actually saying don't hang out with Suzio, but
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm.
time they bring up Suzio, it's in a negative way. So they're trying to bias your idea or your the way you see Suzio, so that maybe when then they
Mm.
suggest let's not go or let's not hang with them, you are already on board. That's how it happens. So I just wanted to just say that because it's not as black and white as I don't want
Yeah.
you to hang out with your
Yeah.
friends. They will go with you, hang out with you. My situations would hang out with all my friends, and but we were always together. It was just less alone time. But when I had my alone time, they would make sure that I am looking at my friends differently because of
Yeah.
their idea of what they see.
Yeah, subtle manipulation for sure, and
Yeah,
like I've said, it's just, and it's difficult because people are like, "What do you mean?" And you're like, "It is how I'm feeling." It's like how I'm feeling. And I remember that you said when you watched Moira's confab when she came and she was speaking, what is
yeah.
it about what she said that pinged for you? What was it that she said that made you think, "Wait a minute," as well? This I
Love
understand.
bombing. Love bombing,
Right.
definitely. That word, I'd never heard it. When she said it, I was like, that was my life. Because for a
Mm,
long time, I didn't understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling when I was loved so much. You get what I mean?
mm,
So I was like, so then this is my fault. So then I'm missing something. I'm the one with an issue somehow. But I didn't know that there was such a term where somebody shows you so much love, which is my
mm.
honeymoon. Like I said, I had my
Yeah,
honeymoon up to the end. Like
yeah,
it's even hard for me to even say I I,
yeah,
I mean I still feel very much in love because
yeah,
um I don't know if I should say in love or I love, but
yeah.
yeah, because that love bombing actually makes you believe that you love. So
Mhm,
I was talking to my therapist.
mhm,
She explained that you cannot, if you have chosen to take in
mm.
some things, you cannot sort of like believe somebody. You cannot then filter and say, I want to only believe when it's the nice things. It means that if
Yeah.
you've trusted someone to be telling you something about yourself, you have also
Mm.
invited them to be able to tell you the bad things. So when you invite them to compliment you, you also invite them to tell you, to critique you, so to speak.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
because I believe they love me, when they said bad things about me, I
Yeah.
believe them as well. Even if your logic says that is not true, you believe them. So
Mm.
yeah, the love bombing was like the first thing that made me understand or articulate
Yeah.
what it is that was hurting. So Moira
Right.
like really, really broke it for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put some of the comments I'm seeing here on the screen so
Yeah,
that you can see.
yeah, I can actually see them. I see Ange is asking. She says your instincts didn't alarm you before taking the commitment question mark, or were you silenced by your desire to be with him, or they were non-existent?
Oh, Ange, that's a hard question because, like, it makes me feel so dumb. Like, oh,
No.
no, no, no. I mean, like in my head, that's what I
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
Um, because in hindsight,
Yeah.
I really was floating, right?
Yeah.
I did not ask the question, why am I getting married? I asked, why not? There were
Right.
there were little factors around being together with someone that were looking great, and we had already said we were going to do it. And I must explain, at that point I was going
Yeah.
to start living alone for the first time. That was a bit
Right.
scary for me. And so
Mm.
the transition of coming out of living with my best friends to living with my husband was actually something that was good. But my instincts did speak. I just chose to ignore. I chose
Right.
to ignore, as I usually did, because I was not self-aware. So this is why I'm big on self-love. I'm not the person that likes courageous conversation, or I used to be. So whenever I had those feelings, I would like push them down and not confront them and understand what they meant. So that is
Mm.
so I silenced my own feelings at
Mm.
that point.
Mm, I love it. Thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest because a lot of times, when we talk to people about trust your gut, like
Yeah,
you've got to learn to appreciate and honor that warning innate bell. For some people who may not believe in a higher power, for some of us who, let's say, believe in Christianity, it's discernment, or it is your gut feeling, whether you believe in God or don't. We all have it in there, this thing, this inner compass that's going to be like giving you a warning time, because innately knows what you desire and what you deserve even
yeah,
before you do,
yeah.
because like you're saying, it's so awesome. We're gonna live together. Ooh, you met this person. And and here we are, in terms of just sharing your journey. And again, we've spoke about controlling behavior. We also know that emotional abuse is also mind games. They call it gaslighting, where you're trying to confront somebody about
Right,
something and they're like, what are you talking about?
right.
Almost making you feel like you're crazy, but you're like,
Definitely.
I'm trying to confront something that is happening here, and this person is like, no, it's not happening. No, I
No,
don't know what you're talking
I'm
about.
gonna double click on that actually, in case maybe
Yeah.
it doesn't come up again.
Yeah.
Gaslighting is the order of the day. So
Yeah.
because the words, if it's verbal, they come
Yeah.
they come left, right, and center. You can't keep up, because the
Yeah.
moment you hear something hurtful from a person that makes you feel so good, you sort of shut
Mhm.
down at that point. So
Mm.
there's more coming, yes, and you can hear it, and
Mm.
it keeps hurting, but maybe you
Mm.
you 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 you're stuck on that first one. Like,
Mm.
how did you say? How did you just say that about my dad? You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
and so when now you process it later, when you're able to sleep, when they've given you the chance to get your quiet time, when you do get it, which is not all the
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
That you were hurt. So when you go back, you go and ask, what did you mean there, or you said this. I remember feeling that I was told that I I misinterpreted things. It's how I heard it. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't what they said, and because I
Mm.
didn't have the word for word which they asked for, I
Yeah.
then started to
Mm.
think maybe the rest of the stuff that I heard weren't actually what I heard, because
Mm.
misinterpretation and all of that. But your
Mm.
your heart knows that there was pain. So now that you
Mm.
didn't even have that conversation around
Mm.
why you were feeling pain, you're stuck with it. Now you're fighting yourself.
Yeah.
They're like, this person loves me, they hurt me, but I'm feeling hurt, sorry. They didn't do anything, so why am I this person? So I'm
Mm.
I'm the problem. That's
Right.
how gaslighting actually then works. You end up now feeling like you have a problem and you need to be more attentive. You need to understand maybe the English language better. Uh, Especially for us, our mother tongue is Shona, so
Yeah.
we spoke in English the whole time. So maybe it's
Mm,
because my command for the English language is not so great, and I hear things that are
mm,
not there, or maybe because I'm
mm.
a writer, so maybe I'm too objective in that base. I'm saying these things because they all came up. But yeah,
Yeah. And I think, just to kind of also just throw in certain things, like for the ladies that may be watching, like I had mentioned that my girlfriend had the black card, but it wasn't love. It was a clear monitoring system. So this
right,
man could easily map exactly where she was at what time so that he could say, what were you doing? Why didn't you get home early? All these different things. But to the outside world, it was a lot of, but girl, he's giving you the black card. You can shop at
yeah,
Canal Walk or the waterfront. You should be grateful for that kind of a person. Also, being threatened within your relationship. I'm going to leave you. I'm going to divorce you if you keep doing this. All these different, these verbal abuse that comes in, or even blaming you. Like, the
yeah,
reason why I'm this is because you do this to me. So this is why I am the way I am. We double click figure that.
yes. You are the problem. If you weren't like
Yeah,
this, then you wouldn't be experiencing this. That is a
yeah,
common statement.
yeah.
So if you want to be happy, do as I say, because
Mm,
otherwise, the reason why we're here is because you are acting such a way. And remember,
mm,
the expectation is never clear. You don't really know how to actually change what it is that you're doing. But yeah,
yeah.
that is one of it.
Okay, so I mean, and to the ladies, let's just look at some of the comments here. The ladies are just weighing in and just speaking there, about possessiveness and also just well done, Angeline, for being very strong. Because I'll tell you why I'm saying well done in the context of the Africanness and in the context of culture.
Right.
When it's almost, and hear me well, because for me there is no, and I'm speaking to the ladies who are watching this, guys, there's no rank on abuse. There's no one abuse is better or less than another abuse. Abuse is abuse. So in the context of when we grow up, it's like, did he beat you? No. So what's the problem?
Right.
Like, what's the issue here? Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Because I mean, hey, you've got a roof over your head, he's giving you the cards. What is your issue? And so I know this would have been a very difficult decision to make, because also having to speak to the family about, this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm feeling, because
Yeah.
of culture, which is not always great, because of limiting understanding that people
Yeah.
have, there's going to be judgment. So, what was that process for you like when you decided, no, I'm done and I want out?
I was very fortunate. I was very lucky.
Mm,
I when I first left, I was not thinking that this was the end because I had attempted to a couple of times before, but I
right.
actually was getting support from his side of the family, and um,
Wow.
and I felt that they were going to be able to help me out, and I didn't have to worry. But the cycle kept going on. So
Hmm.
when I left that time, it was because I thought there was things outside my control, like I was hysterical. I don't know if you guys understand hysteria, but I had never experienced it in the way that I experienced it that day. I had started being hysterical before, where I just want or everything to be quiet. Now I'm not being rational. I just want this to stop. So I'm going to scream because I know you don't want people to come. If you come in my way, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to break things. But at that point, when I left for the first time, it was nonstop. But I want to just explain that when you are
Mm,
hysterical, when the person who's hurting you stops what they're doing, you come back
hmm.
to your senses, and the shame around that is unbearable, because now
Mm,
you recognize yourself as the perpetrator. You're
mm,
because the victim mode or space is comfortable, But when you
Mm.
become the perpetrator, you feel shame because you wanted to be a saint and a victim at the same
Yeah.
time. So
Mm.
for when I left, it was hysteria over and over again. I'd feel the shame. Person, he gets quiet. He says something else, triggers me. Then I'm back because remember, around
Mm.
that time, everything that is said is actually also all feels like manipulation. So when it
Yeah.
kept happening for days, I needed out, and I was lucky that I had a friend who wasn't staying at a place and they offered me their house. I told my mom, the first thing that she said was, you need to just get separation so that you can deal with your feelings, talk to someone. Um,
Mm.
I told my friends for the first time, they were all supportive in that. Why didn't you tell us even before? We would have understood.
Mm.
But this was the
Mm.
first time I was telling them, so everyone was supportive. But what I liked about that was that no one was telling me what to do. I didn't feel
Right.
pressure to leave. I didn't feel pressure to stay. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
sort of just gave me that we know you're going to make the right decision, but just take the time to sort yourself out, to sort your feelings out. So for me,
Mm-hmm.
it was really lucky that I had a support system like that. And I wish I had known earlier that those they were always going to believe me.
Okay. I think there was, we just had a, can you hear me, Angeline? Because it just went a
Yes,
bit
I can.
quiet on my side. Okay. Um, okay. Just wanted to check here. There is a comment that just came through. I like it when people are cordial. It says, I am asking this carefully. Are you Christian? Yes, Angeline is Christian. Okay. What were your internal conversations with yourself about wanting to get out? Were you feeling guilty about your decision as a Christian? I'm asking this because making the decision to get out of such abuse is considered chickening out. Great
Definitely.
question.
Great question. Thank you for asking
Great
it because that was
question.
my biggest issue, to be
Yeah.
honest. Um, before I left this time around, which for me, like I said, was never like I can't even take credit for it. Hysteria
Mm.
had pushed me out to actually go and
Right.
deal with myself. But before that, I was actually bound by my faith because
Right.
I bound by my faith and also my what I felt people expected of me. Because
Mm.
growing up, I had heard that marriage is hard and things go crazy. So I didn't want to
Mm.
be a person who's just chickening out. But at the same
Mm.
time, God says He hates divorce. So I was fasting in that season a lot. I was praying. I was doing a lot of fasting. I was doing a lot of praying because I needed
Mm.
for for the change. What I see now is I was praying for the change to happen, and sometimes I would see a glimpse of it, and I'm like, God is on my side, so I can't, move because now I'll just be saying, God, you're not capable of being the God that you are. And
Mm.
even when I then made the decision, I had to
Mm.
pray. I prayed until I felt the peace in my mind, in my heart, that
Mm.
this is the right decision. And
Mm.
but it took a while. I think I took a month or so
Mm.
praying the same prayer. And I
Mm.
tell you what, when I got the peace, it was peace that surpasses all
Yeah.
understanding. I did
Mm.
not feel any guilt anymore, of which I
Mm.
know for 1 year or so I was carrying it the whole time. So great
Right.
question. And I know that as Christians, we might feel that
Mm.
God doesn't want us to leave. But what he gave me when he responded to me was that
Mm.
all things considered, I do not want you to be where you were. I
Yeah.
when I said I hate divorce, I was referring to when you were having what I have chosen for you, and then you choose to walk out. I wasn't saying you must be abused, you must stay because I hate divorce. I don't. I also hate seeing you cry. I also hate
Mm.
seeing you being mistreated. So that is what gave me comfort.
Yeah. And I think you've said it so well because, I mean, people will throw scripture and be like, well, he didn't cheat or he didn't hit you or cheat is the big one. So you need to Rambai
Girl,
Makashinga, which is
they
be
also know.
strong.
Girl, they also know that cheating is the big one. So I know that that card would be thrown at me as I never
Yeah.
cheated on you. I
They'll,
I love you. So like it's
mm,
like
Mm,
no one was expecting you to cheat, so why
mm,
is that
mm,
something that I have to use to base my decision on? So
mm,
not cheating is not a thing. What I'm feeling is
mm.
the thing, but it's discredited. So even when there's
Yeah,
emotional abuse, the person who's manipulating knows what the rest of the world needs to see in order to keep you in. So you
yeah.
need to be very aware that what people are saying is a result of what this person is intentionally wanting them to see. So it's
Mm.
their opinion shouldn't matter at all, because it was already orchestrated and these people are already on the perpetrator's side without knowing.
Yeah. I think, it's so interesting, especially, in the context. And I always say this to my married friends. When people talk about marriage is hard, I'm always like, guys, what do you mean? Because what's happening now is, unless, and I'm very fortunate in that, for me and my tribe, extremely explicit about the
Right.
things that make marriage hard, and we able to differentiate between abuse and your day-to-day struggles, because look, we're all not perfect. We're trying to maneuver as much as we can. And I'm very grateful on your behalf as well that you were around people that were very supportive as well,
Right.
your family that was very supportive. What was the pressure like? Did you feel any societal pressure at all?
To be honest, not
Mm,
really. I
good.
actually think the one thing that was weighing me down was the Christian one. And when I say
Mm,
societal, I would when you say societal pressure, I would be thinking of people outside my family and my tribe. And
mm-hmm,
the only people that I was concerned about were my family, because when we had our lobola, it had
mm,
brought the families together, and
mm,
it that whole situation made it so unfair for me to then drop the bomb and say, well, you guys
mm,
gathered and we weren't even there, and you had this celebration and I'm just pulling the plug before I even try and see where
mm,
it goes. So I needed to make sure, and that is one
mm,
of the reasons why I also say it is I needed to make sure I was right about what I was
mm,
saying. I keep saying to people, it's not your imagination, because for me, for the longest time, the one thing that I was battling with was, is it not my imagination? Before I can tell my tribe, because I know my tribe will support me, but before I
mm,
get to the point where I tell them, am I really sure this is what's happening? Is this a thing?
mm,
So, but then I had to drag it for a year and a half, almost a year and a
mm.
half, while trying to figure out if it's true. But it was always on the nose. It's just that I
Yeah.
didn't understand what emotional abuse was. So
Mm,
it was never about the people. It was around me being confident in what I knew was happening. So if he had been, hitting me or cheating, I would have been confidently saying, guys, I'm not going to stay
yeah.
for this. I'm walking away. But
Mm,
this was one of those things that I couldn't go and make sure, like without any doubt, say, this is
mm,
the reason and support me, please. I couldn't.
mm.
So I stayed
Right.
quiet.
Right. And I think I love that you spoke about your therapist, because therapy as Black people is like, oh, what is that?
Yeah.
You hear therapy, it's like, are you saying I'm crazy? What's going on? Does that mean I'm weak or I'm less than? How has that therapy been for you, and what's that journey been like for you?
The best thing that has ever happened to me, to be
Mm,
honest. Before I actually started doing therapy before I got married, and it was because of the relationship. We had hit yeah, I think we had hit rock bottom before we actually got married, and
mm,
because I had always been one of those people who believes in therapy, I chose to go for therapy to seek counsel. But one thing that I
mm,
just want to say to people listening that would want to go for counseling is that you don't go there to get the person to tell you what to do. You need to have already um, that self love that is just wanting to get a different perception. But when I went for the first time for therapy, which was with a different person, I wanted them to validate what I was feeling or invalidate it. So it was
mm,
not about me using my facts, it was just tell me from what I'm telling you what it is,
mm,
but you can never show a person everything, right? Because there's certain things that you
mm,
can't articulate. So when I went for
mm,
therapy this time, the first time around, we went together, and
mm,
we went with my partner, they also saw his manipulative side that I didn't know was manipulative then. And so they gave an overview of the state of the situation, and I believed in that statement, not in myself and what I was feeling. And I just
mm,
took it and went with it. So even in
mm,
the marriage, we still went for counseling, and every time we'd go, it would seem like things were changing, but it didn't. Fast forward
mm,
to when I went alone now this time around, it made me see where I was wrong in terms of I was victim mode, and I needed to take responsibility on my part in it. And
mm,
so
mm,
that journey started off with
mm,
me taking responsibility, which was
mm.
different from the first one. And
Yeah.
it had taking responsibility then started opening me up to confronting the feelings that I was trying to ignore this whole time, and
Mm,
making it
mm,
very interestingly um, apparent that
mm.
I had been part of the problem as well. And
Yeah.
I did deserve the abuse, yes, but I was no saint.
Mm-hmm.
So I will even say it now. I'm a survivor. I'm not a saint. It doesn't. I would. It doesn't make me a good person that I managed to get out. But I now know the things that I could change so that I don't get into that situation again. So that
Yeah.
journey is ongoing. It's just
Mm,
the therapy sessions are still opening up my eyes to other
mm.
areas that I still need to work on so that I can become a better person in relationships.
Mm. And I think I love what you said about taking responsibility, because I think that's something that, especially when it comes to abuse, and like we're saying, it's not that anyone deserves to be abused in any form or manner. You know, there is,
Right.
I always say this, and it sounds so basic, where I'm like, but what gives you the right to be beating up or abusing somebody else, whether you're male or
Yeah.
female? Because women can give it like men can give it as well. You know, like,
Right.
really? Why would you do that? But to be able to take responsibility of your part, whether or not you're choosing not to see red flags, or whether or not you're continuously in victim mode, or whatever that looks like, that's unpacked. Like you said, when you can take responsibility, because it's hard, Angeline.
Oh,
We
it's
all
very
feel like,
hard.
whoa, I am the best thing since sliced bread. Anyone will be so lucky to have me. It's hard,
No,
to
the
see things.
saintness. It was actually one of my weaknesses. Like I wanted, even after I left, I still wanted to be
Mm,
viewed as a saint. And therapy helped me
mm,
also recognize those things because outside it, I still wanted a
mm,
person that I've left probably
mm,
humiliated because, well, they were married and then they're being left by someone. I wanted them to
mm,
still worship me and want me to be this
mm,
angel. I know I'm not
mm,
going back, but I want to be an angel to them, which was also
mm,
selfish because I want
mm,
to maintain the saint status. But right now, I'm no saint because to them, I'm a perpetrator right now. I'm hurting them by leaving and not wanting to go back. But
mm,
I'm choosing, it's just that I choose myself this time because I now
mm,
know my boundaries and I know myself. So yeah,
mm,
it's very difficult because when you want to be a saint, you want also to maintain the victim mode. And when you are in the victim mode, you cannot change your life. You cannot change anything. So that's where you stay stuck in an
mm.
abusive situation.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I love it. Take responsibility, and start with self. And it's not, guys, it's not easy. As I think to Angeline's, it's not easy when everybody's telling you you're so awesome and all these things. To be able to
Yeah.
also look at yourself and be like, what, I can actually be a bit manipulative myself.
Yeah.
I can spin it. It's not easy. And so I think that's why the journey to self is a journey. It's not a destination. Up until the end of days, and when we graduate to the heavens, we will still be on that journey to really understand ourselves and to process, because we're suffering from trauma. And this is something I also wanted to say that's very important with regards to the abuser and the abused. Every
Yeah.
single person has had some kind of trauma. They've had some kind
True.
of trauma.
True.
Some people may have grown up in a household or in a environment where speaking like a certain way, or beating somebody or whatever was the norm. So
Right.
now it's imprinted in you. and you think, well, this is how it looks like. I think I've told you this, Angeline, that I was very gracious in that one of my ex-boyfriends who's late now, because I grew up in a household where guys shouting was the norm.
Mm.
My parents would talk, but there was shouting going
Shouting.
on. And when I met him and we would talk, and the argument had to end in fact, it didn't even have to be an argument. I needed the last word, and I needed
Yeah.
to have a very big ending, and it had to end in an argument. Then I knew, like, we are winning. Until
Yeah.
this man just said, Suze, why do you like to do this? And I genuinely was like, but isn't this a sign of a good relationship? And he's like, no.
No.
No. And it took me to his family home. And I must admit, my younger self in my 20s, I went to this family home. Dad is there, wonderful people. Even up to today, we are still in comms, wonderful human beings, like chilled. Dad's there, mom's there. And I remember being in the sitting room, and it was very quiet. And I thought, man, this family is boring as hell, because it was so peaceful. But because he asked me and he wanted to understand, and I literally got freed from that, because I had been imprinted a very
Yeah.
specific way, because I
Right.
thought that's what's happening to people. So it doesn't excuse how we behave, because we need to come into a consciousness and be willing
Right.
to say something is wrong here,
Right.
and then
And
take the steps. Yeah.
I'm actually thinking of something else that I thought profound, back to your question around therapy
Yeah.
and how it's been helping me.
Yeah.
Um, when you become also toxic, you, as a victim, you can also become
Mm,
stronger and become toxic yourself. And
mm,
so I want to just, in terms of responsibility, double click on that in saying or sharing that, because I was fighting with the fact that I thought it was my imagination. I was
mm,
on a When I realized I wanted to prove that it's not my imagination, that's when I took back my power. But I didn't realize that I did. So now
mm,
I was manipulating the situation to show me what I wanted to see. And
mm,
as I was talking to my therapist, we realized that a lot of women might actually do that and get themselves killed, because you never know how much the limit of the abuser, because what you know is what they've given you thus far.
mm,
And what I was
mm,
doing was a dangerous game, even though I wasn't aware I was doing it. But
mm, mm,
I was trying to make sure he says, or I hear the things that would prove that I have evidence that this is emotional abuse
mm,
happening. So at
mm,
that point, that is when I exited the relationship, but I wasn't aware. I was just
mm,
manipulating the situation. So we can all also become manipulative based on circumstances. So I just wanted to double click on that, because there's
mm,
brokenness that comes from your past, but even in that same situation, that brokenness can build into something else, and it could totally ruin you. Because I
mm.
mean, one day I would have pushed him so hard, and maybe that day you would have decided, you know what, I'm getting physical. But
Yeah.
thank God it didn't get that far,
Mm,
because I
mm,
had my breakdown.
mm, mm. Gosh, thank you so much, Angeline, for that. It's just so holistic. And guys, therapy is key. Let me just tell you, especially to all these wonderful Christians who watch this and are like, I'm just going to pray. Yeah, guys, pray and get a therapist. Huh?
Right, right.
Jesus is very clever. There's a lot. If you want a Christian therapist, you can get a Christian therapist if you
Right.
want. They all
Yeah.
went and they studied. And if you feel I'm more drawn to somebody who believes in my religious belief or not, they are there. And I think one of the things that we need to do is be very woke, be
Right.
very, very woke, because a lot of times, and we know this, and I know this also growing up from a church system, it's like you're not praying enough. That's why things aren't changing.
Yeah.
There have been friends, I'm like, you need to pray, but leave. You need to pray, leave, and get therapy and get yourself out physically away from this
Yeah.
person. So let no one guilt you into the whole, I love, we've got answers for everything. It's because you just wait on the Lord, and then now you're 6 feet under,
Yeah.
emotionally or
Yeah.
physically.
Right.
So,
Right.
get therapy, people. It's not
Get
a swear
therapy,
word.
people. No, it's not a
It's
swear
not a
word, and
swear
it helps. It helps, because You don't know yourself. You don't know the things that your mind is hiding.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you don't have people that can help you recognize those things
Mm.
that are not biased, because your friends are going to be
Yeah.
biased about certain
Mm.
things that
Mm.
you should be
Mm.
confronting. So that person
Mm.
is legit trying to make sure you are aware that you're the toxic person in this situation. Yes, of course, the victim of being abused, yes, is there, but don't you see in this context you were toxic? So when they
Mm.
pull those things out, you can then look back and see where it stems from and undo
Mm.
all those wrongs that were done
Yeah.
by your environment in the past. So
Yeah.
we all need a therapist.
Mm.
Even if you're right now currently not being abused, it is I feel like it is actually
Yeah.
very beneficial to just go and meet yourself there.
Yeah.
You don't preach, Susan, you always preach about meet yourself. I feel like sometimes meeting yourself alone can be very difficult because the mirrors that we have aren't very true.
Mm.
Sometimes
Mm.
your maybe your problems or your self-love actually draws you towards people that are manipulative anyway, so all your friends
Mm.
might be biased. So first
Mm.
of all, you need to go and get that
Yeah.
mirror and use the therapist as your mirror, as your truth,
Yeah.
and then you can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, get therapy. It will save your life. Like Angeline has said, even if, and the thing is, it's not just about being abused or whatever, it's self. It's really understanding self well and getting somebody to help unpack these things. Because I
Right.
promise you, everyone is going through trauma. They're going through some kind of trauma and you're showing up a certain way and you're thinking that's just the way I've always been. No, you've been traumatized by certain
Yeah.
things. And so, let's pray. Yeah, faith without works is dead. Like pray, but get therapy, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get therapist. Okay, that's so heavy. Whew. I feel like we just need to take a deep breath here because there's a lot, guys. And like one thing I will guarantee, having also been through a therapy session, and Angeline, I'm sure you can attest to it, it is going to be uncomfortable because you're going to confront things where, like she has said, your saintness, your sainthood is going to be questioned.
You are not as perfect as you want to be. I mean, Susio, I would like for us to unpack some of these things that I did
Yeah,
find in therapy because I feel those
perfect.
things are the things that stop people from walking away or permanently.
Yeah,
Because some people are able to walk away, but they go back because they have not confronted some of these things. So I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget.
awesome.
Um, so for the first one was obviously responsibility. Take for
Yeah.
responsibility. You are never a victim. You can take back your power. You're a victim when you give somebody your power. So
Mm.
yes, they have hurt you, but you need to take responsibility and start doing the things that change. And those things include changing your thought patterns. So you must also confront other things that are happening outside your relationship
Mm.
that actually might be affecting your current relationship or abusive relationship, right? And
Mhm.
then I also wanted to talk about um, why you can't stop loving your abuser. So
Right.
so like I was saying, the funnel that comes in with the validation is the same funnel that comes in with the abuse, right? So your mind already believes that your abuser loves you, so
Right.
it doesn't have to be the reason why you leave that he doesn't love
Mhm.
you, because if you wait
Mhm.
for that, it might never come, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can live even if you love somebody, because that is the beauty of setting boundaries and protecting yourself and guarding yourself. So
Mhm.
in a position where you feel you are in an uncomfortable situation, is abusive, don't wait for yourself to find the evidence that he doesn't love you, because it might
Mhm.
not make sense logically. Some of the things that have been said will not add up. You will get crazy trying to do that. So leave
Mhm.
him loving him.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you finish healing, maybe you get to a point where there's indifference, but I'm still even in the space where I love him. I can actually
Yeah.
say I didn't stop loving him because there's certain things that I loved about him, but also it's also because we also
Mm.
dissociate ourselves from situations. So
Yeah.
when I say I love him, I love the man that gave me the honeymoon phase and kept me feeling that nice. But
Yeah.
I'm not in love with the person, which was the total opposite, that was making me feel like a dog, literally, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when I say I love him, I have to consolidate these two people and make them one. But
Yeah.
it's very hard, and up to now I'm not very good at it, but at least I can remember that this is what was happening. So
Mm.
don't wait for that. And then another thing, hard feelings,
Mm.
to help you with associating these two characteristics of one person. You have to maintain the hard feelings, in that you remember them spitting at you, right? I'm
Mm.
just giving an example.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
you can't, even if you have forgiven them, there are hard feelings about that.
Yeah.
So you're allowed
Mm.
to have hard feelings. It's not unforgiveness. It's saying this is something that I never want to associate with. So if
Right.
you put those hard feelings in place, you are never going to go back. But if you
Mm.
take it lightly and just like, it's forgiveness because I'm Christian, then you don't have
Mm.
anything to go back to and look at as to why you're leaving the person you love. So you
Yeah.
must put those hard feelings on
Mm.
somewhere, write them down in a diary or something. I know I
Mm.
keep going, but stop me if you have any
Go.
questions.
No, no, go for it. Yeah.
Reality versus imagined reality. So
Mm.
when you start the relationship, when they're bombarding you with words, this love bombing and all of that, you create a reality of your relationship that is fake because it's in your head, but it's words that you're hearing over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I'll give you an
Mm.
example that I was told that I do not have a good command of the English language. You guys can understand me, but right? It's stupid when you hear it, but because it's said so many
Mm.
times, your brain
Mm.
still takes it in the same funnel that it takes I love you. So your
Right.
self-esteem is already broken. So what you need to realize is there's a reality that you're looking at when you can't live that is fake. It's based
Right.
on the words that you have received or the love bombing that was given to you. And so you need
Mm.
to dissociate from it and feel what is on the ground right now. Yes,
Right.
this is the life that you expected to live, and this is what you think you will get from this relationship. But is it what you're actually living in right now?
Mm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then trust issues. Trust issues. With trust, there's going to be someone who says, I want to keep our space very secure. We can't invite people into our marriage, into our relationship, because they'll poison you. Because yes, influence is there, guys. Let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest. People are going to
Yeah.
influence you. But if you are a whole person, if your person loves you, they should trust you with
Mm.
decision making process. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you will not be a full partner to them, right? So external voices should not be a threat in your relationship. And when they
Yeah.
say that they are, don't believe them. What they're basically saying is they don't trust your judgment. So what are they doing with somebody that they don't trust? Because there's going to
Mm.
be points where you have to make decisions for the partnership. If they don't trust
Right.
your judgment, how are you going to do it alone? You're going to be dependent on them.
Mm.
So you cannot let people say that external voices shouldn't be there. You need a support system. You need to be able to tell your friends, your mom, not just their side of the coin, because they're going to be biased. You need to be
Mm.
able to trust yourself, to know that even if I choose to be friends with Susie, who's shady, I know that I've got it because I've been
Yeah.
choosing Susie since before we met, right?
Yeah.
Um, Also, so when they discredit your support system, you have to have the heart and the time, take the time to understand what they're saying. If
Mm-hmm.
it's true, you don't discredit also some truths, because some people might have, they see your blind spots. But at the end of the day, you've got the decision making process. You are
Mm.
a person who's supposed to be able to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, the last thing is just the one that I've just been trying to hammer down.
Yeah.
It's not your imagination.
Yeah. It's
because
not.
because I was listening to TD Jakes recently. He was talking about how he read that the point in your brain that feels pain, the part
Mm.
of your brain that feels pain, doesn't is not able to differentiate where the pain is coming from. If you
Mm-hmm.
get short on your arm now, that part of the brain will say, "Oh my God, I'm in pain." When you get heartbroken and someone says mean things to you, it's the same part that gets alarmed. So
Mm.
that pain is not different. So you being hit in the face is not going to be different from you being hit by words. So when you
Yeah.
feel that pain,
Mm.
trust it, because it's telling you that so many things have happened in your body and now you are
Mm.
under distress. So
Yeah.
just because it's not physical doesn't disqualify it from being real pain. And so you don't need to
Mm.
be able to articulate it to anybody and say, these words will hurt me this way, because not everyone will understand your pain. Your pain is pegged
Mm.
with a lot of other things that are in your childhood. So some
Yeah.
statements might not mean anything to Susie. I might swear at you, Susie. For you, it's normal
Mm.
because you and your girls do that all the time. But if you
Yeah.
swear at somebody who's never been sworn at before, they're going to feel
Mm.
hurt. So
Yeah.
you can never have a standard way of saying this is what hurts. So don't
Mm.
look for that. Look for
Mm.
or feel what your body is saying. Is your body saying,
Mm.
now I'm feeling pain and I'm distressed? And if that's the case, that's what you should trust. So yeah,
Mm.
those are some of my nuggets
Thank
for
you.
those people that are listening. Um,
Yeah.
but therapy did help me get here.
Absolutely. And I wanted you to go through that because I think it's so important that people can practically, get some of what you've got. And guys, this is the beauty of therapy. This is the beauty of being able to recognize and our bodies, my gosh, our bodies take so much. We think we're okay, but the body is screaming and shouting out at certain things. And I love what you said, Angeline, about different strokes for different folks. Different things happen to different people. It's like we were having a conversation offline that if I am a person who loves to talk, and loves to deal with issues, and yeah, maybe my partner might say, you know what, give me an hour. It'll give me an hour to process what I need to process, whatever it is. But then we hit you with the silent treatment. And it's making me feel uncomfortable, and I'm getting anxious, and I'm feeling broken, and I'm feeling shattered because what you're doing or the other person is doing to you. It's all these things. And guys, I'm sure some people and I had a wonderful conversation with some women last week where it was so refreshing. And I think this is what's
Right.
so important. We're going to move on to how we ended up here at Uplift a Sister. It was so refreshing that when one woman was saying, as an example, like, guys, don't give men the silent treatment. Like, he's not going to know everything. And this one woman was like, yo, that is so me. That is me. I'm
Yeah.
petty.
Yeah.
I do that. I'm like, you are winning, girl. You are winning to be able to recognize, take responsibility, and then start to think, but okay, why am I this way? And why am I maneuvering, this way? I think it's
Right.
so powerful. So really, thank you for sharing all that. Such amazingness. We're going to go to the comments quickly, and then I want you to tell us how we ended up on this particular platform and how
Okay.
this all came to be. So it says here, so somebody says, I can't still listen to your story without tearing up. I never thought it would happen to one of my own. Thank you for walking out alive. I think that's one of your tribe members there who's in her fields. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that was Miss Rumi. And then it says, I am, let's just see. Okay, one of the things I love is that you sort out how to see someone, i.e., the therapy. These conversations need to happen within
Right.
our communities, as therapy is always perceived to be negative, to be a negative thing, but it is very important. We all carrying a lot of baggage, absolutely, guys. Like, whoo,
Yeah.
there's
That
so
is
much
the
that we need.
gospel.
Woo! That we need to just unpack, like
Yeah.
you may feel set free, prayer and all, but you need to speak about these things. Somebody says you hit the nail on the head, Suze. A lot of us are imprinted a certain way, so we need to learn our part in every situation. Definitely we need to
Yeah.
unlearn, and we are here for the therapy. And somebody says here, true prayer accompanied by something practical. Prayer opens up our minds to discern, and wisdom flows from God to use. To us, therapy is key. And they say you can find that the abuse starts seeking validation from the abuser, who's at some point has now programmed you to think that this and that is normal in order to keep the environment comfortable. Yeah, like Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah.
When people stay with their abuser, even when they open the door, it's like, I'm not leaving. I am staying
Yeah.
here. So hence why we need to be able to get this therapy, to have open and honest conversations. Somebody says here, Angie, did any of your friends notice changes in you? Questions like, are you okay? Or is everything okay at home? I think
I
Did
can
they? Were
answer
there
that.
changes? Yeah.
Yes, they did. But also, I'm a very strong person.
Mm,
I sort of made sure I was supporting what I was told to show. So when I would say it, I would also give like a reason for them to be okay with me staying. So for example, I would share and say, this is what's happening, this is why I'm feeling this way. But oh yeah, this also happened. This is so imagine you telling someone that you were self-harming, but at the same time you tell them that you just got the black card and you're going for a shopping spree because they love you so much. That also
mm,
confuses your friends.
mm,
But mostly
mm,
I was really, really fake. I was not
mm,
showing up authentically. So
mm,
my friends would not have, without me actually telling them, known
mm.
that things were as bad as they were. So
Yeah.
um, I think we were good at the image. My partner was very good at showing the world that everything was fine. I mean, I would be crying at home when he leaves for
Mm,
work, and he knows I'm coming to work also. And when I get there, I should be okay. And
mm,
that was it. Like
mm,
that was how we showed up, and we'd hold hands and everything. So there was never like that window for people to notice that
mm,
there's really something wrong. And I mean, we'd
mm,
go everywhere together. It was like the perfect set up for people to
mm,
believe that what was inside was perfect, but then we weren't as picture perfect. Well, we were picture perfect, but we weren't as
mm.
perfect as our picture is.
Right. Thank you. Thank you. I love this. You're giving me goosebumps because it takes a lot to say I was fake, guys. It takes a lot, because
Yeah.
we know that there's a lot going on. And I think that's the beauty of your story is that, we want people to know this is the reality and it's okay to come out and speak about it and get the right help and support that you need, which leads us to how did we get to uplift a sister? How did we
Before I
get
answer
here?
your question, I have a burning one that I wanted to answer here of the
Yes.
validation. Looking for validation from your abuser. When you
Yeah.
already validation, you have validation addiction already. When you're trying to find out if you're not imagining things, you actually end up asking them. So even as I was out of the relationship, I still wanted validation to say I did not make a mistake. I really
Mm,
wanted, I needed them to confirm that I was right to leave. So
mm,
I'm wanting them to say, oh, I know I did that. I know. So they did give me sometimes that, but whatever they say after would then bring you back or lure you back. So be careful, ladies, if you're in that situation because you're always going to be seeking his validation so that you can prove yourself
mm,
right. Um, you need to make peace with not getting him to say I was wrong. And what
mm,
your choices right now are valid because they also want you back. So they are never
mm,
going to validate your leaving them because it's just like validating someone to harm you, you know. But anyway,
mm. Love
because
it.
I
Thank you.
suffered, all right, because I suffered in silence,
Yeah.
um, and because I know now when I look back that one thing that could have helped me change
Mm,
my life was feeling or hearing someone else that I can relate to.
mm,
Um, I went to women's conferences, I was listening to sermons, I was praying, but none of the things that I heard in the time that I was feeling abused was saying to me what I was feeling was valid. Okay,
mm-hmm.
maybe I was looking in the wrong places, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel we don't talk about it enough, such that
Mm-hmm.
when someone is going through this situation, when they just Google or when they just hear a sermon or go to a women's conference or talk about women's issues, they hear it. And so
Mm,
I felt that that was then my mandate to make
mm-hmm.
sure or ensure that whoever might be going through the same situation does not have that feeling of I'm alone, I'm the only one that's going through this, and therefore I must try and solve it by myself. And
Mm,
so because the moment that I did share with my friends, like I said to you, I felt the
mm.
support. And if I had
Yeah.
just done it sooner, I would have been able to also escape sooner. Um,
Yeah.
why I'm saying it might look like nothing really happened, but guys, I went through self-harm. I would
Mm.
I started by pulling my hair. I'll punch myself in the face. I would pinch myself on the thighs. I bruise so easily. So I would be reminded by my bruises that something is off, and I needed to
Mm.
see that. I was
Mm.
suicidal. When I was
Mm.
suicidal, I felt that if I was to kill myself, because this person loves me so much, they would
Mm.
then be hurt. So now I was in that
Mm.
vengeance mode, and I felt that
Mm.
it would help. I would fall down, guys, like on my back. Literally, I could have killed myself a lot of times. There's pills, like in my house, there weren't that many pills. Thank God we lived on the first floor, because I'd go there and think, if I jump, this is not gonna
Mm.
do anything. I'm not
Mm.
gonna die. I'm just gonna hurt myself. So
Mm.
there's so many things that I know could have happened that
Yeah.
probably will unpick another day. But that didn't
Mm-hmm.
happen because I managed to live. But
Yeah.
guys, it was going to be very important for me. It was going to be life
Mm-hmm.
changing for me to hear a relatable
Mm-hmm.
story. And
Yeah.
so Uplifted Sister was then birthed to encourage women to speak up, to encourage
Mm-hmm.
women to share vulnerably these taboo topics about marriages and how it's hard, and to confront each other about how we sometimes enable our sons even
Yeah.
to abuse other people. Because as long as we downplay emotional abuse, we are going to be allowing the abusers to carry on, and we are going
Mm-hmm.
to putting abused people or the victims under pressure to maintain the
Mm.
facade or the fakeness that they put out there. So this is just
Mm.
a platform for us to raise awareness on these issues so that we can help each other cultivate the self-love and have the confidence to make decisions
Mm.
that are good for us.
Mm. And thank you for creating such a safe space. And I think also I love and I think, Angie, for you, with regards to emotional abuse, and I'm just listening to the different ways you also self-harmed. I guarantee you there are people here who are thinking, I never, wow, is this where it can lead? It can. And it is serious. It is just, abuse is abuse. Being hit and being emotionally or psychologically, there is no gauge on which one is better, than the
Yeah,
other. From a societal perspective, we've always kind of, and I don't know who started this horrible narrative, there's always that when it's your aunt or, and people don't know what they don't know, or family, it's like, oh, he didn't beat you, okay, that's fine, because that seems to be the benchmark, the
right.
mecca, anything
Yeah,
else, come on, just deal with
come
it,
on.
pray about it, like, what is the problem, and it's difficult,
Also,
you
don't
know.
overshare, because you're inviting people into your relationship. Don't share.
Yeah,
That is also
yeah.
something that's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. So this awareness that you're bringing, sharing your story, thank you so much. Thank you, because I know it's not easy. It's not easy, especially, one, again, and I'll go back to society and how everybody's pretty much indoctrinated. Even as I was reading more on emotional abuse, everybody, had the same narrative of it is valid, because
Yeah.
society and the world seems to not validate this thing. It's valid and it
Right.
is real, and it deserves the exact same attention as anything else, because abuse is abuse. So thank you for being so vulnerable, so honest, so authentic. I'm like, we're
Is it over,
winning.
Cecil?
It's almost over. We are winning. So let me see here. I think as Ruby says that, I think she's just saying that exactly. There was a lot of ulterior things to admire about the picture perfect couple. I think speaking about the whole picture perfect, and there are also those moments where, as a friend, as a friend, you can't always put your finger on what is wrong with your friend. You end up letting it go, thinking that it's because you don't like the guy, or maybe you are getting jealous that your friend is married, and now I'm hunting for flaws. And I mean, to that point as well, because maybe this was a different, this could be, you know what, guys, this is what makes what this is so rich. So maybe, let's say hypothetically, Angeline, there was nothing wrong with you, for argument's sake.
Yeah.
What is written there is valid, because maybe you are jealous that your friends are getting on. And that's something you need to go get therapy, go speak to somebody, because you
Yeah.
might be coming from that space. So even that comment is not invalid for me, because there are those people who
Yeah.
do, because of their own traumas are jaded, when it comes to, relationships. And of course, on the other side, like she's saying, there are those people who are, functioning at a high frequency where they're like, no, my spirit is curdled. I'm not at peace. This is
Yeah.
not jealousy. This is something is wrong here. And that's where I would tell you this prayer for me when I'm like, God, reveal. Ooh, Jesus is faithful there. He
Yeah.
will reveal. What you do with that information is entirely your business. But woo, eh, it's been a lot.
It's been a lot, and I'm so grateful that I made it, because where I'm
Yeah,
at right now is I'm very passionate
yeah,
about sharing, and I feel like there's still
yeah,
more that I could say, but
absolutely.
I think we've opened up the conversation, and I'm
Yeah.
just thankful that you and the tribe are supportive of me sharing my story. I'm sure there's some
Mm,
people that are not happy right now, even other women that are not happy right now because it
mm,
affects them in a negative way. Maybe they're in the
yeah.
tribe of the person that is said to be the perpetrator, but
Mm,
we should be okay with people sharing or owning their
mm,
stories, because the moment
mm,
that we try to hide these things, this is the problem for me as I see society, because then it's
mm.
going to happen to somebody else. So even
Yeah,
if right now it's my brother that is abusive, I want to be
yeah.
able to talk about it openly and say, I do not hate my brother. I do not
Mm,
hate my ex. I'm not trying to defame him or anything, but I'm trying to
mm,
save a life. And I would
mm,
like to thank you all, for everyone who's listening
mm,
and everyone who's joined Uplift a Sister, because they've shown me the support that it's not about who and why. It's about who can be saved from it. So take
yeah.
away the characters in the story. You might know us personally, you might not know us. If you know what we
Mm,
are, we're all going through our own personal struggles, and
yeah.
we're all probably going to grow from it. Perpetrator or victim, because, like I said,
Mm,
survivor is not a saint. But what we
yeah.
want is for us to take away the message, which is the emotional
Mm,
abuse is there. And for those
yeah.
that are still experiencing or yet to
Mm,
experience or are seeing it in their community, can my
mm,
story be the reason why someone survives?
mm,
So I'm
mm.
eternally grateful for the platform that you guys have given me, because I could be here alone.
Yeah. No, we always, Angelina, can always speak for myself that, one thing that I gravitate towards is always truth and kind of a very holistic, well rounded approach to life, which is you have not sat here in this last 1 hour, 17 minutes just saying, woe is me and everything bad happened to me. You've really also pushed through that whole narrative on taking accountability, because there is always going to be a part we play, and also just sharing vulnerably and honestly just about how we show up, just about things that could have been done better. It is a well-rounded narrative of what has happened to you, honesty in where you are feeling right now in your emotions, because it's a journey. It's an absolute journey, and
Yes.
truly for me, I think if we're going to speak about the word as well, when the Bible says there is therefore no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, that is exactly it.
Yeah.
Whether you are victim or perpetrator as well, there isn't condemnation. But what is important as a human being is we must take responsibility for our
Right.
actions. We must take responsibility for our behavior. Because what are we all aware of? We're aware that at some point in our lives, we've all experienced trauma. We've all been
Right.
programmed a certain way. And guys, even your parents, they did the best they could with what they had. And so they passed the baton of certain type of behavior, which may not be the best behavior. But we thank God that in 2021, we have opportunities to be able to put to words how we feel. We have
Right.
the actual practical tools, which is you've got YouTube, you've got, Google, you've got therapists, you've got everything is at your fingertips to become better, but you must deeply, innately desire to become better. So this is not a taking sides type of a situation here.
Yeah.
This is
Love
a
that.
thank you, Angeline, for having this platform because it brings awareness. Thank you for being vulnerable and honest and well-rounded in your narrative of your story. Thank you for allowing us to be part of the journey up until now, and we will be there till the end of this particular journey. There's no destination, so I guess we're gonna be here for a very long time.
Till the end of time, and I'm inviting you guys. on the same journey because, like I was saying to you, there's
Yeah.
transformation in changing the way you think. And
Yeah.
I will tell you now before we go and close,
Yeah.
my life has changed so much. It was the weight that was lifted when I
Mm.
decided I was at peace with getting on divorce because my God actually showed up for me. So there was a
Mm.
spiritual awakening as well. At that point, I was while I was working on changing myself on this self-love journey, which is hard. You have to confront a lot of things. A lot of
Mm.
things and opportunities have that started aligning because
Mm.
when you start becoming positive and you remove the negative thinking and that you
Mm.
change your process, your thinking processes, you also change the things you attract. If you're living
Mm.
in on the side of woe to me will continue to come. When you're
Yeah.
living on the side of positivity, it will. So these stories are not just, let's talk about
Mm.
emotional abuse. You need to be able to recognize the self-love that was lacking in myself when
Mm.
I was
Mm.
predisposed to abuse, so to speak. And I still
Mm.
could be if I wasn't working on myself. And so I'm here with every other guest that's going to show up to
Yeah.
help you see your areas of growth that you need to confront. And so
Okay.
thank you, Susie. I I I was nervous, but this went
Yeah.
well. Thank you so much for gracing us, and I hope you come back to share some of your relatable stories because I know you've got a lot of things to teach us. And thank you all for listening. I'm going to be
Yeah.
uploading on the YouTube channel. Please
Yeah.
subscribe. Please share with anybody that you think might actually benefit from this story and any more
Mm.
that will come after this. Thank you so much, guys, and good night.
Good night.